Okay, it's time to get started. So, first of all, welcome everyone. I am really happy that you're here, and I'm very excited about the workshop myself. Um, it's sort of a culmination of a lot of work I've done over the years. Um, so, I'm really excited to share the knowledge and the wisdom I've gained over several years of work. Um, so, just some basic um, interaction rules. If you can hold off your questions till the end of the sections, I'll have several sections in the presentation. So at the end of this section, I will ask you if you have any questions, and of course, by the end of the presentation, I will give you time to ask any questions that you have. And for the end of the section questions, it'll be best if you just ask questions related to that section. And if there's a general question that you have, then you can keep it for the end. Okay, so let's just take a moment to center ourselves. Just no practice, no nothing. Just sit for a few seconds in silence to clear our mind. Because things that I'm going to present today are easy, simple, but very subtle. So you will need to pay quite a bit of attention to grasp the basic idea that I'm going to present. So if you like, close your eyes and open your inner awareness. And take a couple of deep breaths if you like. Okay, all right. So awareness is everything. The awareness that you have is what gives you life. It is life itself. So greater the awareness, the greater the life in you, the life force in you. I'm going to turn off my video and just leave the presentation on. Okay. So my intention for this workshop is to help you increase your awareness so that your life improves. And wisdom increases the awareness. New thoughts and new ideas help us increase awareness. So solutions that were hidden before, when they come to awareness, life takes a shift. Now, okay, 1 second. Let me see how do I move the slides here. Sorry. Okay, all right. So the first question I'm going to ask everyone is, check your feeling inside. Do you feel you're not enough, or there is something wrong with you? Do you feel I'm not enough, or do you feel I am enough? And it is a feeling inside. It's not necessarily just an intellectual act. And it could be a variation of this term, I'm not enough, something wrong with me. There could be variations of it, but you get the idea. So I'm going to give a few more seconds to complete this. Okay, while you guys are working on it. Somebody is unmuted. Can you mute? Okay, Darlene. Okay. Okay, I think we have gotten pretty much almost all the answers. So far, the poll is showing about 82% people feel that they're not enough. Okay, so that's a pretty high percentage of people. So I'm going to end the poll now. Okay, all right. So as you can tell, there are many people who feel that they're not enough. And this is quite a common and a prevalent issue in our society. Now let's talk a little bit about history, just to give a brief idea where we are coming from, because we have ancestral patterns that affect us. Now, if you look at your own life history, most likely you've been working on yourself for many years trying to solve the life problems, one belief at a time, one thought at a time. And that seems like almost a never-ending process. It's like healing one leaf of a tree at a time. There is a much better way. And the better way is to heal the root, because all the leaves are deriving their issues from the root. So I'm hoping in this presentation, at least by the end of the presentation, you'll have a clear idea what that root really is. Because going about and healing one leaf at a time is very long drawn process. Why? Because we are creatures of history. We have hundreds of lifetimes where we have collected hundreds of karmic patterns that they are trying to work itself out. So working one karma at a time, one pattern at a time is a very long drawn process of healing. So I'm hoping you will get the essence of what I'm trying to say in this presentation to speed up the healing process. Rather than taking hundreds of lifetimes, we can do it in a much shorter period of time. All right, so as I mentioned, we have a long history, ancestral history. We have been growing over tens of thousands of years, changing from one form to another. And we have accumulated a lot of thoughts and ideas and patterns over tens of thousands of years. And this is not just one person we are talking about humanity as a whole. Now, only in the last 100 years have we taken a major turn in our consciousness development. The last 100 years have seen tremendous amount of shifts in human consciousness. Most of these changes are visible to us, some of them are not visible to us. One key change that I'm observing is a belief about human development. And this is very relevant to our presentation. So what is this belief that we have held on for centuries or thousands of years about human development? The key belief that we have been holding on as a society, as a human race actually, is that is that punishment is a way of improving or changing human behavior. And if you look around medieval times and even up to now, punishment is a major form of corrective measures used to change a person's behavior. And this can be seen at every level of the human society. Now, punishment is fast and effective or efficient, but it leaves a horrific trauma which lasts for many generations to come. There are many religions actually created around this central idea of punishment. Punishment as a method of correcting human behavior. You will find traces of this idea in almost every religion. It's only in the last 50 years, through development of human psychology, through greater understanding of the human mind, that we have started to realize that there is a better way to improve human behavior. And that is through praise and appreciation. That punishment is not the only way to change human behavior. In fact, punishment damages a person rather than it improves it. Just to give you an example, I used to work for Motorola, and I was a manager of a pretty large team. And one of my senior managers told me one idea one time that has stuck with me forever. He said, Sanjay, the best way to manage a team is to catch people doing something right and ignore when they're doing something wrong. It's such a simple idea, but um, it is based on this notion that appreciation and praise is a much better way to improve performance and improve human behavior rather than punishment. And punishment is so prevalent even in corporate companies, where if you do something wrong, you're caught immediately and you're given a black mark on your report card. And slowly we are realizing that this method is not working. It doesn't produce the results we're looking for. Now, most of us have experienced some sort of punishment from parents, whether it is physical or emotional, at a young age. Why? Because that is the prevalent method that the parents knew. It has been coming down from hundreds of years, thousands of years. It is built into our human psyche that we can correct a human behavior through punishment. And that's what the parents knew, and that's what they've applied in our lives as well. Now, for an emotional punishment perspective, the regular methods are fear, guilt, blame, anger, shame. These are the usual tools, punishment tools used to punish people. Sorry, somebody is having trouble hearing. I'm hoping everybody else can. I don't know what to say. Well, I'm hoping you can log in again, try signing up again, and see if that corrects the problem. Wait, let me see if I can do something here. Yeah, I cannot figure out if there's anything on my side that I can fix. Just try signing up again and see if that fixes the problem. Yeah, most of them seems to be able to hear. There seems like only one person who's not able to. Okay, I apologize. I'll continue. If anybody else has any trouble, please let me know. I hope it's not a prevalent issue. Okay, sorry about the interruption. So the emotional punishment methods we've all seen. Parents start this method pretty early in life. Okay, if you don't eat your food, something bad is going to happen to you. Or if you do this kind of a mistake, this is going to happen to you. So that's a fear technique, guilt technique that is very, very prevalent. A lot of people use it. All right. So if there is someone who can, and this punishment that we experience at a young age leaves a very long-term effect on our human consciousness. It can start with something very simple, but it then results in tremendous trauma later on in life as well. So if there is someone who wants to share, can share my experience. But if there's somebody who can share their own experience, it'll be maybe more interesting. That if you can just share your experience about some childhood punishment that has left a long-term trauma in your mind or on your body. If there's somebody who wants to share, that'll be great. Otherwise, I'll share my own experience. So you can unmute yourself and share if you like. And if I don't hear anything from you guys, I'll do it. I'll share my story, a very brief story about how I experienced that trauma in my life. Does somebody want to unmute and share? Or raise your hand, or however you want to do it.
Okay, I'll do it.
Okay, who's this?
This is Lenore.
Lenore, hi, Lenore.
How are you?
Good. Yeah.
So there's a few, but I'll just share one specifically, and it's kind of become something that my siblings and I try and joke about now, just for some reason. But in the moment, I'm sure we weren't thrilled about it. My mom used to actually chase us around the house with this very large pizza paddle. And like we had a throughway in our house, and we used to chase each other around and around. She used to chase us threatening that she was going to whack us with the paddle. And then we'd run all the way up to our room and we'd all go in one room and lock her out with our feet. But so that would be that's one example of her. But obviously she used a lot of the threats. It was like, if you don't do this, this is going to happen. And a lot of like, don't walk on the wall, you're going to fall and break your neck. Don't do this, you're going to kill yourself, that kind of a thing.
And how, it's so wonderful. And how did that affect later on in your life?
Well, honestly, now that I'm a mom, I noticed that early on in my parenting, I repeated the pattern.
Okay.
I'm aware of it now, so I do not do that. I have since corrected it, but I have 3 children, and so obviously the first one kind of experienced probably more of a repeating pattern than the last.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm from that, I'm not really sure. Like, I feel a lot of fearful about trying new things, fearful about how I go out and explore the world. Yeah.
Yes. That's what I'm looking for. So it creates a long-term effect on your consciousness, where those thought patterns that got imprinted in your mind because of the early trauma, the early punishment, now those things repeat in your head anytime you're trying to do something. Those words subconsciously keep acting in the background.
Right.
Don't do this, otherwise this will happen. So you will protect yourself from that thing to happen by not moving forward on certain areas of your life.
Mm-hmm.
Right? So that is how it starts affecting. And the effects are come through many levels that may not be easily correlatable or understandable. Okay, very good. Thank you for sharing. Thank you. Okay, Raquel, I see your hand up. Do you want to unmute yourself? Yeah.
Sure. Okay. Can you hear me?
I can hear you.
Okay, excellent. When I was in elementary school, corporal punishment was still employed at the time. I remember clearly one of the things that my teachers used to do is, like, say, we used to have a spelling class, and every mistake we made in spelling, we receive an actual pinching on our thigh for each word that we got wrong.
Wow.
Wrongly spelled, yeah. And I can tell you other stories of other students that I witnessed that they're not allowed to go to the bathroom, that kind of thing. And
Hmm.
right. And so I actually talked about this a few days ago with someone, and now looking back, I feel realized that one of the ways that it affected me is it made me really afraid of learning.
Hmm. Of
Yeah.
course. Of
Yeah,
course.
learning has become a really terrifying experience for me because I really didn't want to get, physically and emotionally abused that way. And
Right.
so
Mhm.
yeah, so it's like I would start something, and then I would find it really hard to finish because it's hard for me to learn because I'm too scared to learn it. You
Yes.
know? Yeah,
Absolutely wonderful example, Raquel.
yeah.
Wonderful. Wonderful.
Mm,
Okay. Thank you for sharing, Raquel.
thank you.
All right. Okay.
Hello,
So, yeah. Yes. Who's this?
this is Darlene.
Hey, Darlene.
Okay, you know my history. Mine
Yeah.
is fearful going places because I tend to think, oh, I go to the bathroom, and it's yeah, fear of going to the bathroom and going places because I might have an accident, you know, and that was brought on in the past. Um,
So, how do you relate it to a punishment that you got early on in your life? Is there something that happened?
oh, there's major things. I was punished because I had I developed seizures and I didn't even know it, and they called me stupid. That's one. The other
Mm.
one I just figured out today, and if I gain weight, I feel guilty because in the past I was told I was fat and ugly,
Mm.
and so I'm thinking that's what's causing my digestive system to be
Yes.
upset.
Yes,
I
yes,
just
yes. That makes sense. That makes perfect sense. So the punishment that you were made to feel ashamed of your physical self has led
mhm,
to digestive issues later on,
right,
because you're not able to eat your food properly anymore for the
right,
fear that you'll gain weight and stuff.
yeah,
Yes, makes perfect sense. Thank you for sharing, Darlene. Wonderful example.
okay, you're welcome.
Okay, so let's keep moving on to the next topic here. Uh, so now that we can see from some of these examples how the early childhood traumas, sometimes something so simple, can have severe effects on our body later on. So I'm hoping that you guys can join together with me in ending this thousands of years of legacy of punishment, so that we can together as a human race create a better future for ourselves and the generations to come. It's like almost we are the forerunners of this revolution. And we start this revolution by forgiving our parents because that is all they knew. They were also products of neglect and punishment themselves. So, in your mind, take a few seconds to forgive the parents so that we can start a better legacy going forward. Okay, value. So, we are going to talk about value now. I found this quote very interesting. It says, properly exploited, one good idea that occurs to you while walking on the beach is worth more than 10 lifetimes of hard work. There's a great deal of truth in this, and we'll see why. Simplicity is the key to brilliance. Bruce Lee. That is so very true. Sometimes we make things so complicated by healing one leaf at a time rather than going to the simplicity of healing the root. Never overlook the power of simplicity. So what I'm going to present is a very simple idea But it is easy to miss this idea because it is so simple. So if you pay attention and grasp the core power of this simple idea, it's going to change quite a few things for you. So let's look at, so we are living a life. All of us are living a life. We are going through a journey, human journey. What is the intention of the human soul? Why are we here? What are we trying to do? The intention of the human soul is to experience and express its true value. What does it even mean? What is the true value? We are here to express our nature, whatever our true nature is. We are here on the planet to do something, to express something, to accomplish something. For example, the sun is here to give thousands and millions of people life and light. Right? That's the purpose. That's why it shines. That's why it is there. And each one of us has that sun inside us. We are here to shine our light so that we can benefit the world and ourselves. And we have been given very unique gifts and talents to express that. Now, what is narcissistic abuse at the core? And remember, narcissistic abuse doesn't mean that you've been necessarily treated very badly. Of course, that is part of it. But it really means that your sun, your nature has been covered by clouds. That you were not allowed or given the opportunity to express yourself. So your light, your sunshine is not visible because it has been covered by the clouds of the mind, clouds of other people's confusions that were projected on you. That is, in a sense, narcissistic abuse. And if that happens, the soul is unable to express its intention. And when the soul is unable to express its intention, it creates a serious problem because the energy, the life force in that person is not able to flow. And that sort of chokes us inside. And that's why we feel very unhappy, unhealthy, because the life is not flowing through us the way the human soul wants to express itself. That, in a sense, is narcissistic abuse. Somebody is covering you up in a certain way, covering up your value, covering up your life force. Now, here is another related idea that self-value determines the quality of life. This is universally true. So if you feel your value is less, it will create all kinds of issues in life. There is not a single thing in life, whether physical, emotional, financial, relationship, happiness, anything in life that matters is directly dependent on your self-value. And you can bring any example, and I can show you how it is related. Okay, so this is the essence. The more the self-value, the more better and happier your life. And this is the root. So from this root of lack of self-value or more self-value, the quality of the leaves, the quality of the tree is determined. And it is one point is just value, self-value. That is, it is not related to many other things. It's only one thing that it is related to. And it somehow just blossoms into either it percolates through every leaf of the tree in a good way or in a bad way, depending on how we feel about ourselves. Now, why is this universally true? Why is this always going to be true? Why is value the core of the quality of our life? So energetically, if you feel good about yourself, that means there's more life force flowing through you. So the greater the amount of life force, the better the life in every respect. That's just how things are. Feeling good is equal to more life force, which means more life, which means better life. So when we, let's say, feeling not healthy, what do we say? We say, I'm not feeling good, right? So it is impossible to feel good when we have a low sense of self-value, and vice versa. So they are highly related. Feeling good and value are highly related to each other. As they also say, feeling good is equals to feeling God. And that's true. That really is true. The more the life force, the more God we experience, however you want to define God. Now, narcissistic abuse. The biggest issue with narcissistic abuse is that your sense of value takes a big hit. The narcissist always wants to have an upper hand. They always want to feel more valuable than the other people around them. That is a narcissist. For them, other people are less important. Their own self is more important. So the more the narcissistic the person, the bigger the hit on your value. For them, it's a game. It's a zero-sum game. If you have less value, that means they have more value. They don't understand the principle of that we can all have value. So they will constantly work towards diminishing other people's value and trying to increase their own self-value artificially. And that is the core issue behind narcissistic abuse, because they have sucked your value out in very insidious ways. They'll make you feel bad about yourself. And the more you lower the more your value diminishes in your own mind, every aspect of life starts to diminish as well, right? Just as we discussed. So it's a very simple problem in that sense, that we are victims of low self-value because we are in the presence of people who believe in zero-sum game about human value. So if anyone has any questions so far in this section, let me know. Otherwise, we'll go to the next section of how do we increase the self-value, because that's where the root issue really lies, is in the self-value. So if you have any question, you can raise your hand or chat or unmute yourself, either way. If not, I'll move ahead. Okay, somebody is. Katie, you have a question?
I don't have a question. I have an example, though.
Sure. Okay. Yes, that'll be great.
When I was very small, my mom started saying to me that it was too bad that I had fair hair and blue eyes, and my siblings, like her, both had dark hair and brown eyes, because they would be healthy and I was not going to be healthy.
Wow. Mm-hmm. Wow, that's a big one. And how did it affect you, Katie?
Well, I used to make me feel sad, and then I had pneumonia maybe 7 or 8 times as a child, and when things would go, when I would not be protected in the family, and I would protect myself, I started hiding a little bit, but it made me really ended up doubling up. So I was sent to the hospital numerous times with the feeling that I had, that there was appendicitis. But I think it was just my extreme fear of being in that family, and knowing what I felt, but not being able to express it, as you said in the beginning.
Absolutely. Wow. So there's a huge correlation you can see here. Yeah. Thank you for that example. Thank you for sharing, Katie.
Thank you.
Wonderful. Okay. If no one else has any comments, we can move ahead. All right. So now that we know the root issue, it all resides in self-value. So if we fix the self-value, if you're able to fix the self-value, it will result in fixing of all issues. And I really mean all issues. How do we increase self-value? This self-value is allowing the sun that is within our heart and our gut to shine through the clouds. As the clouds start parting, we see more of the sunlight, the more sunshine, and we start to increase our self-value. The self-value really originates from the heart energy. And I'm going to go into a lot of detail here. It is the heart energy that is getting blocked by the clouds of the mind. And the clouds of the mind are created by all the misprogramming that happened at a young age. Just like Katie was giving the example, that her mother made her believe something about herself, which is false, but it is in her head now, and it is covering up her true essence. So the work about really increasing our self-value is removing the clouds of the mind so the heart energy can shine more through us. One second. Okay. So just like physical clouds, you have, I'm sure everybody's experienced extended days of cloudy days where there's no sunshine. We start to feel low, depressed, lack of energy. Now, the important thing I want to point out is that if it is cloudy for too long, and I mean really long, you will forget that there is even a sun behind it. Okay, I want you to make a mental note of this, because this is it's very essential to moving forward. So I'm going to repeat this. So if, let's say, for a human being in their human life, for 100 years, they haven't seen the sun, they just see the clouds, they won't even know there is a sun behind it. Right? Okay, so just keep that in mind. Let me give you another analogy. So let's say you're dealing with financial issues. There's not enough money flow. And I come to your home and say, okay, there is gold, a lot of gold hidden somewhere in your backyard. And let's say you believe me and you trust me. So this knowing that you have a lot of gold in your backyard, you now know there is a solution. That if you work hard enough, that you search enough, that you will find this gold and it will solve all your problems. So the first thing, just this knowing will change your mood, your energy. your feelings. Instead of constantly worrying, you'll start to feel hopeful that, okay, there is an end to this problem. Okay, that's a very big deal because most of us start to lose hope after a while. And even if that hope is there, it is like a fleeting hope. Now that you know this gold is there in your backyard, you're going to put every ounce of your energy to find that gold. And you're not going to stop until you have found that gold, because you're in search for a solution that will solve all your problems in that time. So it's very important to realize that knowing, I use the word knowing here, knowing is a very powerful idea. Until I know something, I cannot do something about it. So the first step in looking for gold is to know that there is treasure. First thing in solving your problem is to know there is a solution. It's only then you will start to look for the solution. Otherwise, it's very easy to say, oh, there's no money coming in, there's no hope, so why even bother? Okay. So in the next few slides, I want you to you to go through this process with me, where I'm going to show you that you have a treasure inside you. Okay. This treasure has been hidden from you because you've gone through a lot of narcissistic abuse, where you were shown over and over again that you're useless, you're worthless, you don't have value. So you've forgotten there is a sun behind the clouds. So the first step before you can start even searching for that treasure is to know there is treasure. First step to solving your problems is to know that there is a sun behind the clouds. That knowing is very powerful. So I want you to walk through this step of knowing that there is treasure in your own mind, in your own system. And from that point, you will then start to search for the treasure. Now let's ask the question, how is self-value created? Is it nature? Meaning, is it something inherent to you that since you were born? Like Beethoven was given a special gift. Is it nurture? Is like how you were brought up? Or is it both? If you know the story of Edison, I think this is a true story. I found it on the internet in several places. So Edison, one day he came back home with a paper, and he said that my teacher gave this paper to me and told me that only my mother can see it. And the mother read that paper, and tearfully she said, the letter says, your son is a genius. This school is too small for him and does not have enough good teachers to train him. Please teach him yourself. So she took him out of the school and then taught Edison herself at home. Now, many years later, after the mother died, Edison was going through some old papers, and he saw the letter that was given to his mother. And the letter actually said, your son is mentally ill. We will not let him come to school anymore. So the mother actually changed the wordings, and from that she created a genius. That shows the power of nurturing. So Edison had the genius in him already. It was the nurturing from the mother that changed his destiny. It made him from a mentally ill person to a genius. So essentially the answer is that it is both nature and nurture together that creates our destiny or puts us on a certain path, in one path or another path. Einstein says everybody is a genius. But if you judge a fish by its ability to climb a tree, it will live its whole life believing that it is stupid. So very true. So I'm hoping you guys are coming to that point of understanding that there is a genius inside you. And it is because it was not nurtured, you have forgotten or you don't even know it exists within you. So this genius is what is your answer to all your life problems. That is the value, that is the gold that you're searching for. And that is the gold or the value that the universe, the soul wants to express through you. Okay. So I'm going to bring up this question here. Look at this question carefully. One second. Okay. Now, when you go through a narcissistic abuse, your value starts getting hidden. It is not gone. Nobody can extinguish that value that the universe gave you. It simply becomes hidden. So see if you can answer this question. Do you secretly, and I'm underlining the word secretly, it is a very important word. Do you secretly know that you're a genius? The word secret is very important. And it's a feeling. Somewhere inside your consciousness, you know you got a special gift. Somewhere in your consciousness know that you're special, that you're unique. And because it has been hidden from your consciousness for so long, you've forgotten that it even exists. And your thoughts can be contaminated by the society. So what the society values may not be what you are really valuing inside. Okay, so I'm going to close the poll now. The result so far shows about 83% people believe that they are geniuses inside, which is a very high percentage. And if you the same people who initially said that their value is low, I'm guessing most of those people are also saying that they secretly know there is a genius inside. Okay, so there's a contradiction here. Initially, when we are saying that we feel low about ourselves, that we have a low self-value, and then we are also saying that we are geniuses inside, that contradiction is indicating something. Okay, so this is where the true answers lie. First is that we believe that we are of low value, which is a lie. And then we secretly we believe that we are a genius, but it is secret because we have hidden it from our own selves and the society, because the society does not accept the way we are. So in this paradox itself, there's an answer. So the question back again, how self-value created? We tackled the question of nature. So now most of you will know that you have the genius in you. That is taking care of the nature part. Now we're going to get to the nurture part because they're both important. So I'm hoping pretty much everyone or most of you now know that there is a genius inside you, that you have a tremendous amount of value. That value needs to be tapped into for your life to change. So now we're going to talk about nurture, because that is how the value, the true value that is hidden inside us, the sun that is hidden behind the clouds, will start to come out as we are able to nurture it. So we have established there is a sun behind the clouds. We have forgotten that, but we have established it. And that knowing is very powerful, very important. Now that you know there is sun there, now that you know there's treasure there. Now, how do we get to the treasure and start using it is the next question, and that's about nurturing. Okay. And the nurturing is where I think most of the damage has happened for most of us. Maybe most of us have had a very crappy upbringing, but we can fix that. We can fix that nurturing part. Okay. Now, let's see how we can nurture. What is nurture? First, let's ask the question, what is nurture? What does nurturing even mean? Nurturing means repetition. Nurturing means remembrance. Nurturing is essentially a repetition of a truth over and over again till we really start to believe in it, or till we start to actually identify with it. Now, both these words that I just said, truth and repetition, are very significant. Repetition of the truth. So a loving mother, when she's taking care of a baby 100 times a day, she's essentially repeating the truth that she loves the baby. It's repeating over and over again. Her actions are communicating the truth that she really loves the child. Now, another person, let's say a babysitter, is taking care of the baby. The babysitter is also doing the same actions 100 times a day. But it will not have the same effect on the baby. Why? Because it is not the truth. She's not communicating the truth through her actions. So repetition is there, but the truth is not. The energy of the truth is not there when the babysitter is taking care of the baby. So it will not have the same effect. On the other hand, let's take an example of a really busy parent who says to the child once a day that I love you. The truth is there, but the repetition is missing. Right? So that will also not have the same effect. So nurturing by definition means repetition of a truth, repetition of a truth. Simple. It must have both the elements. Otherwise, it doesn't have the effect. Oops, sorry. Next slide. Okay. So if in some way you are able to remember the knowing that you are a genius, through nurturing, that you are able to make it a habit of thinking. And as you know, thinking changes everything. Thinking is all there is. So if you start to identify through repetition, through knowing. If you start to identify that you're a genius, what will your life be like? I can guarantee you it's not going to be the same. Right? So it's the more you identify with a genius, the more you become the genius, the more you start to express the genius in you, and everything changes. You'll not be treated the same way by other people or by your own self. And your body will reflect that. Your bank account will reflect that. Your life will reflect that. Your relationships will reflect and start to see you in a very different light. But it starts with you. Okay. Now, this is a little bit of a tricky thing, but I'm sure you guys can understand it. It's a little subtle thing. So the door that we just saw, the door to freedom, to a better world, is through the remembrance of the knowing. Right? You guys must have all heard about self-realization. What is self-realization? That everybody's trying to accomplish, or all the entire humanity is moving towards self-realization at some level. Right? Self-realization is that we already are that, but we have forgotten it. Right? So the first is we know that we are the gods, that we are something special, so we are unique. We are not just ordinary human beings. So there's a knowing, and then there's a remembrance of that knowing. That's how self-realization happens. Is the more we start to identify ourselves with something bigger, the more we start to behave and act and experience that bigger self of our own self. Now, what is the difference between affirmation and appreciation? This can make a huge difference in unlocking that door to a better future. So affirmation, and I've done it myself quite a bit. Affirmation is something that you're hoping for. So let's say you don't feel healthy or you don't feel wealthy, then you repeat the affirmation, I'm healthy, I'm wealthy. Right? That is an affirmation. That is saying that I want to become something. And the appreciation is what you already are. So affirmation is about becoming, and appreciation is about acknowledging what you already are. There's a subtle difference, but a huge difference. Now, don't get me wrong, affirmations are great things. But for the purpose that we are working on this right now, the key to unlocking the door is not going to come from affirmation. It's going to come from appreciation. And why is that the case? Because affirmation is focused at an energetic level, is somewhat focused on the lack. That I'm not wealthy, and for me to become wealthy, I must repeat this affirmation. So the more you're repeating that affirmation, at some level of your consciousness, you're saying, I don't have it. So some part of your consciousness is focused on the lack. And that is not an effective way to move forward in many instances. Again, the affirmation has its value, but it needs to be done very carefully, or you can produce exactly the opposite results to what you're looking for. On the other hand, appreciation is about focusing on what already is. So if you do something good and you appreciate yourself, you're focused on what you already did, what you focused on, what you already have. You're focusing on your I am. current state of goodness. So it is essentially trying to increase what you already have and trying to increase your sense of self-worth. So if you look at the children, when they, let's say, draw a picture and they take it to mom and say, Mom, look what I drew. And the mom's reaction at that time can have a huge impact on the child's self-worth. So the mom says, oh, what a useless drawing, it will kill child's self-worth. And on the other hand, if the mom genuinely appreciates the child for what they have done, then it will increase their self-value. Right? So it is increasing and enhancing the positive of already is. It's not creating something new, it is enhancing what is already there. And that's how we grow. Not by focusing on the negative or the lacks, but we truly grow by focusing on what we already have. That's why appreciation is a very powerful tool to increase our self-worth. Now, for the appreciation to work, it must be genuine. It must be authentic. It must be felt. And that is what nurturing is about. So when I say I love you to somebody, I need to have some meaning behind it. So the nurturing part that you can do for yourself to nurture the genius in you, you must learn to create a habit of appreciating anytime you do something good. First is observing it, and then acknowledging it and accepting it. Whatever you did. And this may be contrary to the old belief patterns that the society has held on for so long. At least my mother used to do it all the time. She used to come from a belief that if I point out the lack in a person, then the person will correct themselves and they will grow from that process. So essentially, she was always focused on the lack. Okay, you didn't do this right, you didn't do that right. So the focus was always on what the person has not done right. And her intention was not bad. The intention was that if I point this out to the person will take some corrective actions. But what she didn't realize is that it's not the way to grow. It never works. The growth works from what my manager at Motorola said: catch somebody doing something right and ignore when they're doing something wrong. That's how it's a positive reinforcement. It increases our value. It makes us feel good. And feeling good is the real objective here. So as you go along your life's journey, keep in mind to appreciate yourself all the time. Now, I'm not talking about fake appreciation because that can create a wrong result. But genuine appreciation, even if it is small, just recognize. It's simply recognizing it, acknowledging it. Okay, I did this right. I did this well. I did this good. Right? And initially, it may be even a little bit of a problem because we're not used to it. But as we start to do that, we'll start to see our own inner self shining and coming out. And we know we have the genius. It's just we need to appreciate that genius for nurturing that genius. We need to nurture that genius by appreciation. And as your self-value increases, everything will change. I guarantee you that. From health to finances to relationships. Now, always remember that as your self-worth increases, there will be things that will change in life. Things or people that you were associated with before when your self-value was low will need to leave. You will have to disconnect with them. because the two cannot coexist, where the people that you attracted when you had a low sense of value, now with the same, now with higher sense of value, you don't need those people. You cannot have them in your life. And that's a bit of a problem. It's a bit of a challenge because we get so attached to people and situations and things that it is a little hard. And I think that's a hard part of the journey. But at the same time, it's something you got to do. If you want to move ahead, it's something you got to accept as a part of change of life. So continuously listen to your heart, listen to the inner feelings, listen less to the society, and keep moving forward by appreciating yourself in the things that you feel that you're doing well. Okay. I know it's a simple idea, but please remember, it is very, very potent. Okay, so if anybody has any questions so far, let me know, or we will move ahead to the next topic. So you can unmute and talk, or you can chat. Any questions, any comments? Okay. So moving on. Heart, mind, and will. These are the three faculties of the soul through which the soul expresses its purpose on earth, on this plane of existence. Just like we have five senses, the body senses, similarly, the soul has three faculties. So let's see what this even means. So throughout life journey, throughout the journey of humankind, there have been several avatars who have come on the planet to show us the power of at least one aspect of the human soul's expression. So for example, Buddha came to teach us, show us the value of the human mind. So out of the heart, mind, and will, the power of the mind was really brought to surface by Buddha. So if you look at his teachings, he is primarily focused on that part of the expression of the human soul. Then Jesus came, and Jesus was all about heart. He showed us the power of love, power of the heart. Now, the will is a very new addition to our human consciousness. And I don't believe there is any avatar coming for showing us the will. I think it is the entire humanity moving towards the will as a whole, as a collective. So even until 50 years ago, the son of a blacksmith was a blacksmith. Son of a butcher was a butcher. So whatever the ancestors used to do is what the next generation used to pick up. So in a sense, they really didn't have a free will. They were like geared towards doing the same thing over and over again, generation after generation. This whole idea of free will, the idea of choices and preferences, they have come into existence in the last 50 years or so. So this is the age of will, I believe. It is awakening of the human will, the free will, the choices. You look around in the world these days, this is just about choices. Everybody is choosing, has preferences, they're showing their preferences. Whereas even 50 to 100 years ago, people really didn't have that kind of choices. So it is an awakening of the human will. And if you look in the business world or even careers, everybody's doing all kinds of different things. Earlier, there was like only 2 or 3 main professions. Now it's like hundreds upon hundreds of professions of different kinds. Everybody is expressing their own uniqueness in their own unique ways. That is choice. That is free will. So as a collective, we are arising to free will of a human will, free will of the humankind, of the human soul. Now, associated with this heart, mind, and will, if you look at the body, there are 3 brains we got. We have the mind, which is the brain, the physical brain, and there is the heart, and there's the gut. These are actually 3 physical brains in a human body. Each one is doing a different thing, and they're also working in collaboration. So gut is somewhat of a new idea, just like the human will is coming to consciousness. It's somewhat of a new idea. We knew about the brain, we knew about the heart to some degree, but the gut is coming more to awareness that it is a very important area where there's a lot of energy stored. All our emotions stored there. Even if in the chakra systems, the 3rd chakra is all about emotions. That's where the emotions are stored. And the gut area has got several vital organs of the body. If they don't function well, the body doesn't function well. And when you casually say, I had a gut feeling, that feeling actually is coming from that gut area. There's a brain there that is responding to certain sort of external stimuli. Now, above these 3 brains is you, the soul. Soul is the conductor, is the choice maker, which orchestrates the activities of all these 3 brains. So based on the choices that the conductor is making, the 3 brains will either work together in harmony or they'll work against each other. So if the conductor is not functioning properly, is not there, then everybody is going to play their instrument in a different way. And that will be chaos. In the case of a narcissistic abused person, the conductor goes missing. The role of the conductor gets taken over by the narcissist. The narcissist starts to control the bodily functions, the mental, spiritual, energetic, and bodily functions of that person. So the narcissist has sort of taken over the mind, body, and spirit of this person. And that's a serious problem. Your body and mind has been hijacked by somebody from outside. Through force, through whatever means, through punishment, through force, through manipulation, they have taken over your will, your consciousness. And that's a serious problem when you've been exposed to a narcissist. So a very key element of when you want to manifest your desires, your needs, your desires, express your soul's purpose. First is you got to take back the control of your life. You got to take back your role of the conductor. Nobody else should be allowed to make decisions for you. Of course, you listen and you can evaluate, but the decisions have to be yours. And you have to take responsibility for it. That's how you get back your role of the conductor. That's where putting the blame on somebody else for the mishaps of our life, which may very well be true up to this point, but going forward, you have to take back control by taking responsibility of your actions, your choices. That is what the conductor is. Then start to trust your heart. I know it almost sounds like a cliche these days, but your own feelings must supersede anybody else's feelings. Just a very simple example. A friend of mine, Paul, he was moving, and just out of my friendship for him, courtesy for him, I said, I'm going to help you move. Now, I had some other things going on at the time, but I still chose to say, I'm going to help you. Okay. Even though I wanted to attend that other activity more than help him move, but I chose, or at least told him, and that didn't feel right. So I, at that point, made a wrong choice of not trusting my heart. That I did correct afterwards, but I had to learn to say a no, trust my heart, not be kind and polite and whatever else, and or programmed way of thinking, but I had to really follow my heart. It was hard. It was hard saying no to him because he's a close friend of mine. And eventually I learned that okay, I got to trust my heart first over anything else. Okay. Also, remove the mind resistance through wisdom. Wisdom is powerful. Once you understand why your mind is doing certain things in a certain way, through wisdom, you can remove its resistance. And let me think of a good example. I'll give you an example. It's not coming to me right now, but I'll come up with an example. Then there is the resistance that it can be removed through the will, which is, I think, a very important part here. We are so programmed to think in a certain way, to believe in a certain way, do things in a certain way, even though we know it's wrong, even though we know it's harmful for us. But we just out of habit, we keep doing it. And that can be overridden through will. And this is the age of the will. Okay, so if you apply these these couple of things, you can make a lot of changes in your life. Now, I find a very simple exercise that I don't know if I can show you here. Let me see if I can. It's a very simple physical exercise that triggers a connection between the three minds. And it is very helpful especially if you wake up in the morning and before going to bed. It can create a reaction in your body that is a beneficial reaction. And so simple. You can do it standing, you can do it sitting. All you do is, I don't know if you guys can see it or not. So it might be a little difficult, but anyway, you open your body like this, breathe in, curl, and go down, and do that again. And you can add a little bit of a visualization that can be helpful. So when you're breathing in, visualize whatever kind of energy, golden light or whatever, is coming from your nose and your upper part of your body and flowing through you all the way to the bottom of your spine. And then when you're doing the reverse, you're letting out the breath. Just visualize you letting out anything that is not useful for you. And do it about 9 times or 18 times. Do it in a multiple of 9s. And it takes no more than like a minute or two. And it can really start a circulation of energy in the body between these three minds. So because it's coming from the mind, the head, down to your heart area and down to your gut, and the reverse. It's very powerful, very useful to get the body aligned along with the spiritual or energetic side of you. Okay. Going on to the next. And if somebody has any questions, please feel free to chime in, send a text.
Hey, Sanjay, can you do that again to do like visualizations? Like, do you go right to your toes, like when you release, like bent, or do
No, no,
you?
no, no. It's just you open you're opening your chest, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, this is simple. Then you close and you just bring your hands down as far down as you want. It's not it's not about the yoga position of touching your feet. It's all you're doing is just simply curling down so that you are letting
Mm-hmm.
out all the air from your lungs.
Okay, so there's no wrong or right way putting your arms down then.
No, 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 no. Yeah, just go down as much as you can. The idea is to let the air out of the lungs.
Okay.
It's not about the physical act, rather than more it is about the breath work.
So you imagine light going to your heart when you do that, basically.
Yeah, so when you're breathing in, when you're opening up and breathing in, you're letting the
Mm-hmm.
air inside and visualize that the energy is flowing, beautiful energy is coming into you and flowing
Mm-hmm.
down to the bottom of your gut area.
Okay.
And then when you're
Okay.
reversing it, you're just letting out anything that is not useful.
And it doesn't matter how it goes out, right?
No, no, yeah, no.
Okay.
Makes sense?
Yeah. Thank you.
Mm-hmm. You're welcome.
I have a question.
Yes.
Every time that I had a very narcissistic mother, and every time that I find that my joy comes up and my genius that you're calling, I stop it. I push it back down,
Mm-hmm.
and I don't know how to stop doing that.
Yeah, no, I understand, and it's a very good point that you're bringing up. It's a habit, right? It's simply a habit because
Mhm.
you are trying to be nice or kind to your mother.
Yeah, and I'm
Right?
scared to get her disapproval. I'm scared of her,
Yes, yes,
and even if she's not even around in my life that much, she's still inside of me.
yes. So hold this question till the end because I'm going to cover that to some degree.
Okay.
And if it doesn't clarify, then ask me the question again in the end. Okay?
Okay.
All right.
Thanks.
Wonderful. Good question. Okay. Now a new topic about fragmentation and integration. What does it mean? As we are growing up, our consciousness starts to fragment. So our consciousness has got multiple pieces to it. Right? We're not just one. So we have a personality. You may be angry, you may be frustrated, you may be joyful, you may have a genius, you may have negative traits, you may have positive traits. So there are many aspects to our personalities. And as we are growing up, certain parts of our personality are accepted and certain parts of our personality are not accepted by the society. So based on which parts are not accepted, we start to hide those pieces. We start to become, we make sure that they are not presented outwards, and we hold those pieces inside us. And this happens to a point where we become unaware that these pieces are within us. So this starts to fragment our personality. There are holes in our personality, even we are not aware of them. They go subconscious. Now, these subconscious energy patterns can start to harm us. They could be good patterns or bad patterns, but they are always harmful because they're hidden. So just like the example of genius, that genius got hidden, was taken out of our consciousness, out of our personality. It went subconscious. Now, because the energy of that piece is not available to you, your life is not complete anymore. Then there are times where we are really angry at somebody. Now that anger goes subconscious. We become nice and kind and polite from outside, but we are seething inside. And that is a dangerous place to be. because that energy will at some time, in some form and shape, will come out. You cannot hold it inside too long without harming our own self. So that is what is called fragmentation. From our own consciousness, they've become hidden. So this quote of William Shakespeare is quite important here. He says, "This is above all, to thine own self be true." See, we are hiding our personality pieces because we are trying to be true to other people. That's why we're hiding them. So like the question that the previous person asked, sorry, I didn't get your name, but the question she's really saying is that she's hiding that piece of herself because she's trying to be true to her mother rather than her own self. Okay. So it is about being true to our own self. And we do this for approval's sake, for whatever's sake, for avoiding punishment, for getting approval. There are many different types of reasons why we start to hide our personality or pieces of our personality, because they're not acceptable. And there are repercussions of even trying to show them out. Hema says she can't hear me. 1 second. Just give me a second here. Yeah, there's some people who are having some trouble with hearing, I guess. I really don't know if there's a solution for that. Oh, that I know of. I think the only thing I can recommend is just hang up and dial again or try again, logging in again. All right. So it's the conscious awareness that I'm going to start becoming more and more true to my own self. That will help you align with you. Because you've been aligned with the truth of somebody else for so long that it's a little disconcerting initially, but it's something that we have to do. And we'll discuss some of the ways to do it, I guess. Again, the same lines, Socrates says, know thyself. So it's for your own understanding of who you really are. That's of supreme importance. So if you have a genius in you, you have to know that genius. You have to be in touch with that genius. Okay. Now, this is very important that I find very useful as an exercise. I do this every day. Before I go to bed, I will not go to bed until I do this for myself. It's becoming aware of my emotions. And I just simply take a computer, start writing for 15, 20 minutes, half an hour. I'll just write my emotions, whatever comes up. And that's a very powerful way to let out and bring to consciousness things that have gotten submerged, things that were not acknowledged by other people. And those pieces of my personality that went broken off from my totality of my being, they start to integrate back as I become aware of them. And without any judgment, without any questioning, I start to just write what comes to me. What do I feel? What do I think? If I'm angry, if I'm frustrated, if I have secret desires, I have secret fantasies, they're all symbolizing, they're all pieces of me that have been hidden somewhere. They've become secret because nobody wants to hear them. So any kind of secrets, feelings, secret emotions, secret thoughts, secret ideas, fantasies, whatever comes up to you, without judgment, just allowing them to flow through you and write it on a piece of paper. I just do it on my computer. If it's a negative emotion, I simply write it and delete that piece of writing. so that it just comes out. It's not submerged inside, it is not hidden inside, and it keeps creating trouble inside my consciousness if I don't let it out. So I find it very, very helpful and useful. This is one practice that I really can't miss. At times I'm overwhelmed, at times I'm angry, I'm frustrated. I have to write them out. At least they're out in my consciousness, out of my consciousness, rather than just staying stuck inside. And that's one way to start integrating all your pieces. That's one way. I'm sure there are other ways too. But as you start to integrate those pieces, you start to see a complete picture of your own self, who you really are, and letting out pieces that are not yours, because we actually also start taking up pieces from other people, other parents' anger, frustrations, this and that. They also get submerged in our own consciousness. So at least by unhiding those things, pieces of me, letting them out into consciousness really helps to clear up my consciousness from other people's junk, and also integrating my own pieces. And that way you can start to really see yourself. Most of the vision problems are because somewhere we have really hidden our own self from our own self. Okay. Okay, so I'm moving on to the next section. Some understanding of the community mindset. If you guys need to take a short break, couple of minutes break, let me know, or I can just continue moving on. You can type it in the chat if you like. I think probably another half an hour or so, roughly, maybe. We should be done. Okay, yeah, so feel free to type anything you like if you need to take a short break. Okay. All right, so community mindset. The generation gap is increasing at a very rapid pace. Does somebody have any question or something? Patricia, I think you're unmuted. Patricia, okay, I'm going to mute you. All right. Okay, so the generation gap is increasing at a rapid pace these days. 500 years ago, there was not much of a change in thinking from one generation to another, but it is dramatically speeding up now. Okay. So keeping that in mind, let's rewind back our history, ancestors. The early ancestors, and for the longest time, the human communities were set up in a way where there were tribes and there were tribal leaders. So the leaders were people who had a lot of experience with life, a lot of experience with surviving. And the communities were really formed for the purpose of survival. That was the primary motive. So back in the caveman days, I guess, where there were wild animals, the chances of survival of a person was much higher if they were in a community. If there were 2, 3, or 10, 15 people, then they were less likely to be eaten by a tiger. So through this whole survival mechanism, these communities were formed. That was the intention. And the leaders of the community were people who had experience. They have lived long enough to know how to survive diseases, how to survive wild animals, how to survive other things that threaten their survival. So this was the structure for the longest time. And it still is in some form and shape. So basically, the communities were created where this was the mindset. The elders had survival wisdom, and all the followers had unquestioned loyalty to the elders by the tribe members. And the elders actually felt responsible for the tribe. And this was the basic structure for almost all tribes. Now the tribes have become different. Let's say even in a family these days, there is an elder, a parent, and then there's the children have a unquestioned loyalty towards the parents. And the parents feel responsible for the survival of the children. So it's a different community, smaller community, I guess, but the structure, the mindset is the same. Now, how does it affect us these days? What does it even mean? The community mindset still exists where we believe the elders had the survival wisdom. The parents know more than the children do, sort of mindset. But is that really true? Because of the generation gap, the elders or the parents have less information about survival than the children do. So this whole belief system that the elders know more than I do about survival needs to be questioned. It's not true anymore. The way that the parents believed and thought are not valid anymore. However, we somewhere deep inside our consciousness, we think they do. And that can take us in the wrong direction. That's where when we question, when we are loyal to our elders or parents without questioning, we usually end in trouble. Because they don't really know, the parents really don't know what things that you would do actually now these days. So this is very helpful to move forward, because the parents tend to say, okay, you must do this, but they're coming from their time, their viewpoint, and that is not valid anymore. But we find that conflict within our own self, that if I don't follow my parents, I'm going to be in trouble, because we still believe that the parents have the survival wisdom, whereas they actually don't. So that is helpful to know that the world has changed. Now, this is also related to the narcissist. The narcissist uses different kinds of tools to make sure that you don't go off track, that you are under their control. So you're not good enough. They're coming from that place, okay, you don't know as much as I do. Just like that elder mindset. The elders had that mindset that, okay, I know more than the tribe members do. I'm senior. I am more experienced. That is not a valid argument anymore. So the other question, the other mindset that the elders are coming with is, you will not survive without me because I know more than you do. Is that true anymore? I don't believe it is. I know more than you. Unquestioned loyalty is a must to survive. These are the mindsets that you will actually find in a narcissist these days. So in many cases, the narcissist is coming from that viewpoint that I'm an elder. I know more than you do. You're going to follow me or you're going to die. Okay. Emma says, or us making feels like their parents and other adults more than they do in all cases. Yes, that's true. The same idea. Yeah, we make our kids feel like that too. Yeah, we got that gene inside us too. Yeah. And Katie says, now would be blind loyalty based on collective? Yes, absolutely. And Raquel says, how about spiritual teachers? How does that play into the generation gap? Same thing, the spiritual teachers are also coming from the same place of understanding that I know more than you do, or many of them do, maybe not all of them. And the spiritual world is also changing very rapidly. So very good question. Very good question. The spiritual world is not the same. In fact, most of the spiritual concepts we have drawn from religion. Many ideas are being picked up from the religion. They are just dressed up nicely into New Age spiritualism, but the concepts are not very different. And personally, I don't believe religion has any future. Organized religion is an outdated idea that we created to control people's minds, and I don't think it's going to survive for too long. Of course, it's going to be around for a while, but it doesn't really have a true future, in my mind at least. Okay. Individuation. What does that mean? Individuation is a concept that I believe Carl Jung came up with. And I'm really a big fan of Carl Jung. He, out of all psychology theories and people who have created psychological concepts and ideas, he really stands out in that, in my mind. So individuation means that we are separating from the community in some form and shape. It's about becoming an adult. So what is the main difference between a child and an adult? The child is completely dependent for physical, emotional, financial needs on an adult, or on a parent, let's say. And the adult really is not. An adult is independent of other people. That's the main difference between an adult and a child. Now, we are designed to grow from a child to an adult. That's how the universe has created us. But in many cases, we can physically become an adult, but emotionally, we can be stuck as a child. And there are many reasons and cases for it. Maybe let's try to understand some of those. Give me a second here. Okay. So individuation really is about becoming an adult, separate from the parents. There are two major emotional phases in a human journey. One is bonding, and the other is separation. So the bonding phase is when the baby is born. The baby is trying to bond with the mother. So in the presence, the loving, kind, caring, protective presence of the mother, the child bonds with the mother to find that soothing presence so that the child feels safe, and that which is a necessary aspect of growth. If the child is thrown into a very dangerous situation, it's not going to be able to grow properly. So the child is trying to, in the bonding phase, trying to grow in a safe environment, trusting that it'll be fine. And as the child grows in a safe environment, it builds a feeling, a belief that life is safe, that I'm safe, that I'm confident that I'll be okay. And the second phase is where once the child has bonded properly, it has been nourished properly, it has been has grown up into a sufficiently mature person physically and emotionally, then the child is ready to turn into an adult and separate from the mother and other parents. But if there is a damage during the bonding phase, which is quite common, especially with narcissistic parents, then its separation gets hampered as well. So the child is not being brought up in a safe environment. It doesn't feel safe enough to launch on its own. And in that case, the child has grown up physically, but emotionally, the child becomes a nervous wreck, is not able to make decisions on its own. And in case one of the parents dies for this person, the person goes in a complete state of chaos because feels that it's been left with no security blanket. So that shows that the person didn't go through a proper bonding phase initially. So the people who grow up where the bonding was not proper and they were not able to separate properly, separate in a healthy way, this is some of the things that they'll experience. Hard time making decisions, lack of self-confidence, self-esteem. They tend to put people on pedestal, which is essentially they still have that parent-child mindset. They are overly dependent on parents, gods, angels, gurus, and teachers because they're looking for that parental figure in some form and shape, parental figure to protect them, to take care of them. They're unclear of their own identity. Now, this is very important. They can possibly carry chronic illnesses that are transmitted from the parents to the children. So I personally don't believe in genetics. I don't think there is anything like genetics. That's all science created, mind created, science created. People have come up with all kinds of weird things, but I don't think there's anything like genes. It is energy. Energy gets transmitted and energy gets stuck. So if I have a very strong bond with the parents, or I have a very strong energetic connection with the parents, there's a tendency to pick up their energetic patterns of diseases as well. So that's my understanding, my belief pattern, whatever you want to call it, but that's where I'm coming from. These people also have an extreme fear of loneliness, abandonment, or rejection. Makes sense, right? Because they have not bonded. Imagine you take a 3-year-old child and leave the child alone. The child is not ready. It has not found that safety yet. So that fear of loneliness and abandonment is going to be very prevalent. And anxiety and adrenal burnout, same case. And these people, and when I'm saying these people, I'm including myself because I've gone through a lot of this kind of stuff, have a hard time letting go of people and situations, even if they're hurtful. So if you take almost all cases of narcissistic abuse, almost all, I've worked with many, many people, all cases demonstrate this fact that the abused person is unable to leave the narcissist, even though they know that the person is harmful for them. And that is because this abused person is looking for the parent figure in that narcissist. And and parent figure or the bonding, they're trying to bond with the narcissist. And the narcissist realizes that this person is completely in need of me, and I can abuse this person as much as I want. Okay, so that is damaged separation. Now, here's the interesting thing, that as we even grow up, we ourselves start to apply anti-separation strategies. And this is very important to understand. We ourselves start to stop the separation process because we're afraid. We're afraid of separating. So, for example, sadness and grief are actually symptoms of anti-separation strategy. So if let's say a parent passes away, I don't want to let that parent go and hold on to the sadness and grief. Of course, we're human beings, and of course we'll be sad and there'll be grief, but it'll be limited. There'll be limited time. But if the sadness and grief continues for too long, that is an indication that we have not let go we have not separated from the parent. Same case with anger and blame and shame. These are all coming from the same place. Genetic diseases, same thing. Genetic disease is, at least in my understanding, is an anti-separation strategy, because we are able to relate to the parents, have some form of connection, whether even if it is a disease, it's at least a connection with the parent. So energetically, we are not letting the parent go or separate ourselves from the parent, and that is a form of a genetic disease. We pick up their diseases. At least it's some sort of a connection. Pleasing the parents, seeking their approval, holding on to guilt, one up, one down mindset, where the parent is higher than I am. That's a parent-child mindset. So these are all anti-separation strategies that we apply because we are afraid to separate them out from the parents. Now, what are some of the strategies you can apply to separate from the parents? The first and foremost is you need to know it is necessary to separate. You cannot live a healthy and well life until you separate. There's no choice to it. This is how the universe has designed us. As we grow into adulthood, we have to become adults intellectually, mentally, physically, in every which way. The second is acceptance. We are all adults. Even though we may have some emotional connections, but we still are adults. We are capable of taking care of ourselves in most cases. Then accepting our gifts, talents, and strengths. The more we depend on our own self, the less we have to depend on others. So this again falls back into the same thing, that the more you accept your genius, your values, the more you'll become more independent of the parents. Then if we all are humans and we need bonding to some degree, you can actually bond with your own self. And we can try to do a short meditation and see if that works for you. And the last one is, I think, one of the most important ones. You got to start accepting that parents are humans. When a child is born, the idea that the child has in their mind is that the parents are gods. Right? To this 10-inch old long baby, or 10-inch in size baby, this 6 feet tall man or woman looks like a giant, looks like a god who's capable of doing anything. That's how the mind is set. For a baby, the parents look like gods. So you got to start accepting the parents as just ordinary human beings, and you relate to the parents as human beings, not as parent or child. And that's a way to start accepting the parent, start separating from the parents. Okay, so if you guys are interested, we can do a short meditation. We'll do a really short one here to bond with your own self. I find it very useful to do that because there are times where we do need support, and we're looking for outside for the support, but we can shift our focus and look inside for the support. So if you guys are interested in doing this, just close your eyes. And bring to consciousness that I'm going to bond with my own self. These words, bring it into your consciousness. They will trigger a connection of you with you. The words are powerful communicators of consciousness. Just feel and say to yourself, I am setting the intention to bond with my own self. I'm bonding with my own self. Just keep repeating it as much as you want. Focus on it and just say, I'm bonding with my own self. I love to bond with my own self. Feels so good. I'm happy to bond with my own self. I enjoy bonding with my own self. It's so satisfying to bond with my own self. It is so fulfilling to bond with my own self. It is so safe to bond with my own self. And this just, you can do this anytime, just even a minute or two. That takes your focus and attention away from connecting and depending on other people all the time. I'm not saying we don't need to or we cannot. We should. There are times where we need to depend on other people. But self-dependence and self-bonding and self-connection is probably the most important thing. So it is very helpful to bond and connect with something or someone. And many times we are unable to find that place to connect to. And if we don't find that place to connect to, we feel very ungrounded, unhinged, ungrounded. And this simple meditation can bring you back into your own self and really make you feel peaceful inside. So give it a try sometimes. You'll feel a tremendous amount of peace inside, that you're not running around and trying to connect with other people and not finding that connection, that intimacy, that support, that love that you're looking for. Nobody's available. But when you start to do this to your own self, there's tremendous peace that comes in. We all need some place to connect to. What better than to connect to your own self? Okay, all right, so moving on. That was the crux of the presentation. I'll just very briefly talk about my journey or my work. These are my parents, extremely dysfunctional family, good people, bless their hearts. My father is gone, my mother is still there, but very dysfunctional family. Both borderline narcissists. My mother was more so than my father, but very hard life with them. The person on the right is my teacher, my direct teacher. I'm a disciple of Goswami Kriyananda, and he was in the lineage of Yogananda Paramahansa. And I owe a lot of my learnings and teachings and a lot of my growth to this one particular teacher. I've had several teachers, but he's been a source of tremendous amount of inspiration for me. I came to the US, then did my master's in computer science, worked at Motorola for 16 years, where I was one of the pioneers in the development of the 3G and 4G cellular systems. Then I used that knowledge, that wisdom, combined spirituality and science, created this Lifetron healing device that's placed in the Himalayas. It transmits a very specific vibrational healing energy to a person anywhere on the planet. I won't go into the details. But the basic idea is that we really grow through nurturing. So this is some sort of a nurturing energy that we missed. It's a very pure energy, nurturing energy that helps reconfigure our brain and mind in a positive direction. Of course, we are carrying so much of stuff from the past lives that it just takes time. In many cases, sometimes it's very fast, sometimes it takes time. But it's very, very, very powerful. Basically, these are life-trons, unseen energy particles that are transmitted wirelessly. What else I think? Yeah, so that's pretty much the end of my presentation. The key words I'll just repeat is understand and accept your value. That's your answer to most of your life problems, if not all. The value, your self-worth is there inside you. It is simply hidden. It's not gone. And it's your task, your job, your healing journey to accept that and keep moving forward. And it's not hard. It's not very hard if the moment you start to pay attention to it, make it an intention and attention to the fact that you're going to increase your self-worth, to allow the genius to come out, to allow your sunshine to come out. It'll start changing everything. Now, as I said earlier on, it may cause ripples and problems with other people because you're changing. I'm not sure if there's a really good answer for that or an easy answer for that. It's something that you gently and kindly keep taking steps towards. You don't have a choice really in that matter. Your soul, your mind, your body is all geared towards experiencing and expressing your genius, which you have. That's what you come here for. So fulfill your destiny. And you have the capability to do it. Okay, very good. So that was the end of my presentation. And you guys, I'll open the floor to anybody who wants to ask any questions, anything that they want to share. It'll be wonderful.
Okay, I'd like to share something.
Absolutely. Who's this?
Hi, this is Alejandra, and I had trouble getting on, but I was so intent on being part of this call. I was just in a panic that I might miss it, so I'm so grateful that I could participate, and I just want to thank you. It's been just a super powerful, helpful, potent, wonderful offering. I just so resonate with so much of this and your loving presence as well. And I love, I mean, there's so many things I loved about it, but the growing through nurturing is just so powerful, and that keeps coming up. And it also kind of reminds me of, how we're bringing back the sacred feminine, which is coming into its full power, which is so much about that nurturing, that self-love, that self-value. And so I thank you for supporting us all in remembering and practicing that, and helping, by doing that, also giving others permission to do the same.
Absolutely. Wonderful, wonderful thoughts. Wonderful thoughts. Wonderful. I appreciate your presence on the call as well. Excellent.
Thank you, Sanjay.
You're most
You're welcome. Bless you.
Thank you. And I'm going to send a very short survey. If you guys can fill that up and give me some feedback, that'll be really appreciated. Okay, so
Can I mention one other thing?
Mm-hmm.
I'm sorry to interrupt you. I just wanted to add this one little thing too. This is still Alejandra. When you said, like I am a genius, like really getting back in touch with our true nature. For me, it was easier to say, and I've been able to just embrace this on a more authentic level, is that I am wise, rather than I'm a genius. I am wise. And,
wonderful.
For me, that just helps.
No. You bring up a very good point, actually. See, the genius is just a word. It's about just identifying your strengths and talents and gifts. So the wise may be the word for you to identify your talent and gift. So,
Okay, great. Thank you.
it doesn't matter. The words are irrelevant as long as the consciousness behind them is present. It's
Right.
about feeling good. It's about feeling good about yourself. That's all there is.
Okay, great. Yes.
Makes
Thank
sense? Thank you. Thank you for sharing.
My joy. You're welcome.
Anybody else has any questions, any comments? I just also send on the chat, I send you a link for the survey. If you guys can click, and it's a very short survey, I'll really appreciate that. Okay, yeah, so who's this?
This is Diane.
Hi, Diane.
Hi, I just have a question about the unhiding when you were talking about that.
Mm-hmm.
You said that you write down all the emotions, fantasies, thoughts, whatever of the day. Is the purpose of that just to bring them to your consciousness? And did you say you then erase them each day once you've typed them all out?
Yeah, the idea is that these pieces of us, they get hidden because they're not accepted.
Uh-huh.
So, for example, if let's say you're angry with someone.
Yep.
Now, when you're little, parents don't have the time to hear anger most of the cases. So they will shun that, they will not accept it, they will not hear it. And that sends a signal to the mind that, okay, my anger, my frustrations are not valid. Okay, they're invalid emotions, I should suppress them. So when you do this practice of unhiding, so you're essentially hiding those emotions. And they're hiding doesn't mean they're gone, they're just simply being hidden inside and causing trouble. So when you start to write them out, however you want to write it, see what happens is when you just do it in your mind, it's sometimes not that potent. It's writing is actually more potent than just thinking. So when you write it out, your emotions, you're unhiding, you're bringing them to consciousness, you're letting them out.
Right.
And that is very helpful because it's up in your consciousness. They're not suppressed anymore. And the more they come to consciousness, see, what is consciousness? What is awareness? Awareness is light. So when the light is shown on whether the dark areas or good areas, whatever, when you shine light in a dark room, things come to awareness, consciousness, they're not hidden anymore, right? And if there is already light, then the light enhances light. So there's a negative emotion and you bring it to light, it starts to dissipate. So for example, if there's energy of anger inside your system, when you bring it to light, your consciousness, the consciousness will heal it.
But we don't need to, I mean, you don't do it in order to analyze it or anything like that. It's just to bring it to our consciousness, and then we let it go.
Yeah, so you can analyze it. Analyzing is just taking it one level deeper. Try to understand why that emotion is there, if that is a repeated emotion. What is causing it? So you can bring wisdom into the picture. But you can bring wisdom into the picture only after you know what the problem is. Right? So if there is, let's say you bring up, let's say just as an example, there's anger in the system. And you find that you're angry every day at some type of a person. Now you can at least start to see the pattern, what is triggering you about that person, only after you bring it into consciousness. So, but the first step is bringing into awareness. Right. And then the awareness itself will start to work in the background to help you understand it.
Okay.
But it is really about unhiding our emotions. Does it make sense?
Yeah, but you don't like keep these lists from day to day to day and
No. I personally don't. It's not necessary. I don't think it is necessary.
Okay. It's just writing them down, but then you can destroy that once you've done it.
Yeah, absolutely. I write it and I delete it right there and then.
Okay.
But what happens is the moment I even bring it to awareness, now it is my awareness has seen it.
Right.
And
Okay.
that seeing itself transforms it.
Okay.
Or at least it starts to transform it. And over, you may not get the answers. So maybe a couple of days later, after you've written, you may get an aha moment. Oh, this is why this happened.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Hey, Sanjay.
Yes. Hi, Darlene.
Hi. I was wondering about gratitude. Like, I've been writing in a journal about sometimes I write, I am grateful for, and acknowledge, even if it's just simple things at night. And if there's something that I need help with, I write a letter to the universe. I ask for help. Is that another good way of releasing?
No, you're saying, is that a good way to release? No, what did
Is
you say?
that another way of releasing? Is that another good way of releasing, me writing things out, like writing a letter, like I've been doing for a while here? Like, I
Yes.
am so grateful that I'm here.
Mhm.
Um, um, you know, I asked for help from my dad to be happy and joyful again, something like that, in my letter.
Mhm.
Or I ask, help me get beyond of fear and put more trust and faith in myself.
Yeah, these
Is
are
that okay?
all very useful techniques, Darlene. See what works for you. But my emphasis, at least in this presentation, was how are you appreciating yourself? See, this is to some degree, it feels like you're appreciating somebody else.
Oh, I'm pressuring somebody else?
Yes, so you're saying like I'm grateful for this. Who are you grateful to?
Oh, I'm grateful that, oh, let's say, I'm so grateful that my husband got money today, or I'm grateful I went
Yeah.
into town and faced my fears,
Yes.
something like that.
No, that's great.
That's
I'm not denying that that's a useful thing. But what I'm saying
Mm.
is that for you to feel good about yourself, you have to be
Mm-hmm.
grateful to your own. In the case that you're describing, it feels like you're grateful to the universe or God or whatever.
Yeah, I write a letter, but it's matter of me, my feelings expressing
Sure. No, that's
what
perfectly fine. That's perfectly fine. Yeah, no, it's good.
uh,
If that works for you, it makes you feel good. Great.
I'm working.
But
And
don't forget to be grateful to yourself. That's the point I was making.
uh, yeah, and I really, can you on the bond meditation you said happy, enjoy bonding. How about appreciate bonding with
Sure.
myself?
Sure.
Yeah?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Absolutely.
That was very powerful because you mentioned a long time ago that my spirit was separate from my body. So this way, when you're bonding, that makes sense because you're actually bringing yourself together, your spirit and your humanoid body, right?
Yes, and
Together.
it's very powerful. If you do it for
I
some time, a month or two, you will
uh,
start to notice the difference.
okay, because that's one thing that went through my mind, and I thought, this is what you told me, and then when you did that little meditation, I understand why you did that because we're not separate, we're whole, but we believe we are. That makes
Ab-
sense?
Absolutely, absolutely makes
Okay.
sense. Yeah,
Oh, I'm good.
one of the slides I mentioned, I'll try to bring it up, where because of the narcissistic abuse, your own self is gone, disappears. It has been taken over by the narcissist.
Mm-hmm.
Right? And that is a huge problem because you're missing your own control, your own soul is sort of missing from your body.
Okay.
So this is an exercise that will put you together, which is a huge deal.
Okay. Thank you.
Mm-hmm. You're welcome. Very nice. Any other questions, comments?
I have one more question.
Uh-huh.
So I feel like my husband and I have been doing like a lot of work in this, and we're making a lot of headway, and it feels really good. There's one aspect that for some reason keeps bumping up with me, which is when I am in my genius and I am doing really well and I am successful, because of that has happened in the past. And when I am successful in moments, I have had my mother say to me, "Oh, well, that must be nice." Or it just feels like when I do something great or I'm successful, that it's like somehow like hurting her, or like not hurting her, but like she's not exactly happy about it. Just, it's like, oh, it must be nice for you, you know? So I am doing well. I keep moving forward and we're doing really well. But that little sense of like making me feel guilty for my successes is like a little tendril that holds on. So I'm just wondering if you could add anything about that.
Yeah, absolutely. See, remember, the narcissist is coming from a place of zero-sum game for value. So in their mind, there's only so much of value to be had, and it's either you have it or she has it. Okay. So if you're showing greater value, that means it feels to her that she has less value.
Okay.
Right. So it's a zero-sum game for her.
All right.
Now, for how do you get over that guilt is based on the separation idea. You are holding on to that guilt because you want to be connected to the mother.
Yes.
Okay. Now, disconnecting from the mother doesn't mean that you don't have no relationship with her. Disconnecting from her means that you're not dependent on her.
Right.
So if you change your focus, saying, I'm not disconnecting and I'm gone, or just I'm getting rid of her from my life, I'm just not going to treat her like a mother anymore, or I'm separating as an individual, as an adult. And
I feel like I'm disconnected from her, but there's something like I'm still looking for some kind of like approval or validation from her.
Sure.
And I don't really honestly care, but then there's this little voice inside me that's like, oh, wouldn't it be nice if she could say like, I'm proud of you?
Yes. Very true. Very true.
So I'm just trying to get over that piece.
So can you give that sense of appreciation to yourself?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. That's a very good point. I've never even thought about that.
Yeah. That's what this whole thing is about, is to self-appreciate yourself enough that you don't have a need for appreciation from outside that much.
Okay.
Now, of course, we are human beings. We all want that appreciation from outside as well. So that's not the point. But becoming more reliant on your own self and finding that appreciation in your own self is very helpful.
Yes. That makes sense. Okay. Thank you so much.
That's welcome.
Sanjay, can I ask my question again from earlier?
Yes. Say that again, please.
So sometimes I'll feel like, joy or, what you're calling the genius come up, and then I immediately suppress it. It's so fast that I don't even notice it's happening until after it's happened. So is there anything I can do in that moment to allow that energy to come up?
And this is when you're interacting with your mother, or what was the case?
No, it can be at any time, really. Like there's just, how sometimes joy just comes up, but I've been suppressing it for so long that it's become a habit, like you said earlier.
Right.
So like how, I'm aware of it, but I feel like I'm just like in the infancy of awareness around it. And I'm wondering if there's anything I can do to speed that up or expand that awareness around it so that I allow that joy to come out, because I've been living in depression for 43 years and I've had enough of that.
Sure. You don't need any more of that.
No.
Sorry, what was your name?
Francine.
Oh, yes, Francine. Okay, with your permission, can I tap into your energy field?
Yes, please.
Okay. So let me check what I can recommend to you, okay?
Okay.
Yeah, so it is guilt related that I can see.
Mm.
You feel guilty about feeling good. Um,
About what?
you feel guilty about feeling good.
Yes.
Okay, and now the next question is, why do you feel guilty about feeling good? What is going on in your consciousness that is making you feel guilty? Is your mother, um, is your mother or father, I think it looks like your mother, um, who has had a hard life?
Mhm. They both have, but my mother, I think, is more of a narcissist than my father.
Yeah, so
She's
Mhm.
she controlled everything about me, about my life from the time I was young.
Yeah, but she had a hard life herself.
I think so. I don't know. My father, I think, had a harder life than she did.
Mm-hmm. But she was probably the more complaining kind.
Yeah.
Okay.
She's the victim. She's a
Yeah.
victim.
Yeah. Makes sense. Yeah, so see, the guilt is that you don't want to feel happy because your mother feels sad or unhappy,
Yes.
right?
Yes.
So,
And I feel like I'm betraying her.
sorry?
I feel like I'm betraying her.
Yes, correct. That's why you are suppressing your feeling good. And it's the answer to that is that you start to realize that you're an individual, she's an individual, she has made her life choices, you're making your life choices. They're not dependent on each other.
Right.
She
And
can create whatever life she wants, you can create whatever life you want.
yeah, just 2 days ago, it came to me that I'm not responsible for my parents.
Yes.
And that was a huge revelation for me, that I've been carrying this responsibility for both of them because they were both like children. And I had to
Yes.
be an adult.
Yes.
And I never got to be a child.
Yeah.
And it's been just like this heavy, heavy, heavy weight.
Right.
That was a real awakening, because I realized, wow, yeah. And now you're confirming it by saying that.
Yeah,
That
absolutely.
she made her choice.
Yeah, she made her choice. She can live whatever life she wants. It's not that you forced it upon her.
Mm-hmm.
Right? It's your choice that she's suffering. It's her choice.
Right. It's not my responsibility to make her happy or make her life better.
You want to hear a funny quote I saw on Facebook?
Mm-hmm.
It's got a F word in it, but hopefully you guys are much mature enough to see it. It's a I'm just trying to find that quote, but I think it says something like, the sun shines regardless. The sun shines regardless. It doesn't give a fuck if you get blinded by it.
I love that. Oh my God, I'm going to remember that one.
Something like that. So it was too funny. I thought I would share it with you.
I love that kind of humor that just takes it down to a real raw level.
There's so much truth to it. Like, why should I care?
Yeah.
The sun doesn't care.
Yeah, and it's funny because I watched one of my brothers. He figured that out a long time ago, that my parents he didn't give a shit about them. He just went off and lived his life.
Right.
And he was the middle child, so I guess he just kind of escaped some of the responsibility.
Right.
But it's taken me all this time in my 50s to finally wake up and realize, yeah, I'm not responsible for other people.
Yeah, that's the truth. That's the truth. Everybody has their own responsibility for happiness.
Right.
Good. Very, very good question. Very good question.
Thank you very much for your help.
You're most welcome. Okay, very good. Any other question, comment?
I got another one, Sanjay.
Okay.
Darlene here.
Yes, Darlene.
Yeah, she hit it bang on. I missed the joke and then I was on something else. Now my dad has been using his condition with cancer. Basically, I'm the only sibling because my brother, he just departed and cut ties and never heard a word from him. But now he figures that we should be able to, kind of like pitch in. He's married, and I know they've been both having problems. But the thing is, that one little incident happened, and it was to do with be here right now, or you would say never mind. And I said to my husband, "You're going into town. You deal with it." I threw it on his plate, and I felt not nice to say, but I did. And he come home and he was really grumpy. But it's just, I said to Wayne, I said, but he was trying to make us feel guilty for not doing these things. And then when my husband was over there, he says, all they talked about was being sick. And I've been dealing with that. Two, I was wondering, am I still attached to my mom and I feel guilty that she died so young? Like I was really young when she died. She was only 47 or something right in there. And I was angry with my stepmom for the longest time, but now I'm learning to appreciate her and say thank you. And I have seen my mom